So welcome everyone. We're here to do an image review today. Let's start here. You were the last time, Sarah, so you go first this time.
Hey, John, thanks. I was lucky enough to run into John at Glazer's on Saturday, and it was John's birthday. So happy birthday again, John.
Thank you.
And I was there to borrow a camera that I was considering buying and test it out and go on a photo walk. And we went over to Seattle Center and I took this picture of Mopop and I really liked it. I processed it in Lightroom. And I
liked
loved
it so much that you bought the camera right here.
I did buy the camera. And now I need to figure out how to really use it.
What'd you get? What'd you get? We all want to know.
Nikon ZFC.
Or ZFC for the rest of the world.
What?
ZFC for the rest of the world.
ZFC. Oh, thank you. I didn't realize. Yeah.
So you want to say anything else about it?
No, I'd love to get feedback on it.
There's a museum in, I want to say Barcelona. I could be wrong. That this, I could be mistaken, but I think it has the same sort of look and feel as that museum, and it's very nice.
Yeah, it's a Frank Gehry. He also did the Disney concert hall in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He also did the band shell at Grant Park in Chicago.
Oh,
They all look the same.
okay.
Yet they're different according to the colors of the sky and the reflections you get in it. The one here in Seattle is quite interesting because it has a purple wall, there's a silver wall, there's a gold wall. I mean, there's quite a number of different surfaces used in this one. Right, I know the one in LA, I think is all silver.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really like the color in this because you've got the contrast between the really warm colors and the cool colors along the edges. But it also makes me wonder, did you experiment at all with black and white conversions and things like maybe platinum or palladium tone effects or things along those lines, just to see what that would look like, and even like printing on metallic paper. I don't like metallic paper for a lot of stuff, but this would be a natural for something like that.
Right. That's a great suggestion. I did not experiment in black and white because I really like the colors in this, but that I will do that now afterwards. And I don't know if I'll print this, but I like printing on metal actually a lot. And I think this would be good on metal also. But thanks.
Why do you like printing on metal?
Because then I don't have to bother framing it, and my pictures seem to lend themselves well to it.
So Jim's commented in the chat there about the mixture of pristine panels along with the weathering and the rivets.
Okay.
Mix of the idea and the real in architecture.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was supposed to be a mix of the ideal and real, but I need more coffee.
Let's see what comes up next. This is Roberts. Robert's here, right? Yes.
Yes.
So is this Midjourney or natural?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Jeff.
Oh, Midjourney's the AI generated artwork stuff going on.
Oh, no, it's three individual cityscapes shot in Philadelphia, overlapped in Photoshop.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
a
real
composite.
photograph, not a.
It's a composite.
Yeah.
Well, it's three photographs. Yeah.
Well, no, but what it is, it's lens-based, not computer-based.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I like it a lot better because of that.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yep.
The image is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And don't you have a whole series of this kind of look?
Correct. Yeah, I call them urban abstracts.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, Jeff, I would have said light-based rather than bit-based. As far as the AI stuff. because the AI stuff has nothing to do with light at all.
Yeah, I know. Well, I said computer-based. Would you like a comment or critique?
Sure.
Okay. I love the brightness of the umbrella. I would like to see a little bit more separation in his shape. So like his on camera right, his shoulder disappears.
Right.
And just a noodling fine point. And then the other thing is I like the tonality of the reflection in the bottom, but I think that the bright spot in the top is too bright because it pulls away from the umbrella. So I would.
Sorry about that. Hit my mouse.
I would like to see the tonality up above look more like the tonality down below, a little bit more amber and a little bit less bright. Does that make sense?
Right. Sure.
And
yeah, what I do with these is I shoot cityscapes almost exclusively in Philadelphia, and I take each image and I edit it so that it's sort of a standalone image, and then I overlap them completely, having cropped them maybe to 11 by 14. And then I overlap them, and I don't change much once I overlap them. I just play with the blending modes. So that's probably explains what you're talking about. This is actually 3 different pictures.
oh, I like it.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
And all of the images that you show on your website, are they all done this particular way that you just described?
If I've labeled them urban abstract, they are. Some of them are just cityscapes.
Well, thank you.
I was just
Thank
going
you.
to say, wow.
Yeah. Let's see, this one is from Jerry, who's not here, but we can talk about it a bit so she can get it in the recording. Let me pull up her email on this other computer.
Are those people drowning, or what's the story there?
It's a composite. I do know that. Let's see.
They look awfully happy to be drowning.
Yeah, right. I was going to say the same thing.
What are the options?
Swimming, Mike.
Not in those clothes.
Oh.
This is a composite one that I called, that is in a trilogy called Family Tree. That's all she said about it. So we can go on to the.
To me, it just doesn't seem cohesive.
Now, they're happy, but it's a more sedate scene. So they don't really fit with the rest of the
But
movie.
she said it's part of a trilogy, so maybe we need to see the other 2 images in the series.
Well, it also looks like they're in old-fashioned swimming attire. It's probably an old family photo or something that she's composited with other stuff.
Yep, so let's go on to here.
Oh, I like that.
Hmm.
An old train station?
Let's see, who is this one from? Hang on a second, Jack Rosnicki is coming in. This is from Val, who's also not here. This is Asbury Park, New Jersey, I believe, Valentina. So if folks want to comment on it for her, and again, she can get it in the replay.
Looks like this was done before they tore it down and built a new one.
I don't know if she gave a date on this one. Let's.
Looks like a railroad station.
No, it is very bright. Now you can see the boardwalk in the background.
The title on is 2000 Asbury Park, so 22 years ago, maybe. Yeah, you can see there's even, it looks like a Magritte poster on the edge here.
Oh, yeah.
I like the symmetry, but I like that the symmetry is hard on the top and soft on the bottom. But I would have liked to have seen a little more detail in the ceiling.
Or less. I don't
I
like
was-
that one
Yeah.
bright thing right there. That the other stuff is okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, that bothers me.
I was just sitting here thinking, I really like the way she handled the contrast. It seems just right to me overall.
Go back there. Next one coming up.
Was that Mike Mueller in his office?
This is from Tim, who's
Hey
in
there.
his truck there.
So it's just recently in New Orleans and just kind of doing a lot of street photography, walking around there. This is Beckham's bookstore, and it's like it feels like walking into a Harry Potter world with these stacks of books everywhere, head high and stuff. And it's just the guy you see in the center running it and his brother, and they're both in their 80s and can barely move around. And it's their son that was out doing the window, that he was washing the window. And I don't know, it was just a neat moment to capture. It was a lot of fun.
That's what street photography is all about, a moment to capture.
Yeah, it's that 1 second kind of a thing. And God, New Orleans, the French Quarter is such a photo-rich environment. I really had to restrain myself.
Why? Why restrain yourself?
Go for it.
My thought exactly.
All right. On the fourth day, I let loose all the people I was stepping over on the sidewalk. In an hour and a half, then I got like 100 photos of people lying in the street. So, there's like pending coffee table books.
Yeah, such quite a character. Anyone else have comments on it before we move on?
Is the guy behind the counter very small?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
he's probably 5 foot tall-ish.
Okay, because
Yeah,
what's strange is the proportion of his size versus the counter or desk that he's behind, and the guy
Exactly.
washing the windows.
Yes. Yeah, he's kind of a small Lilliputian kind of a size. Yeah, it's that counter's like a normal 39-inch high kind of dresser
Really?
counter thing that they use. But though that's his son that's out there, so he's really proportionally the same size. He's standing on the ladder and
The only
it's
thing,
lined up well.
the bottom right corner, I wish that was burned down.
Okay.
The white
Yeah.
trash can. Because my eye keeps
Yeah.
up and down there.
Right. And opposed to that on the left side, there's kind of a white blip.
Yeah.
Well,
I've not edited this other than to turn it black and white. That's out of the cell phone because it's
That's great.
fast and easy to shoot. And so I can't layer or mask anything yet.
The sign that's directly on the right side, almost at the edge of the frame, is just perfect with what's going on with this whole scene.
Yeah.
It's closed.
did you say this is a cell phone photo?
It's a cell phone. Yeah.
Not bad for fun.
Very cool.
And then just run it through the Instagram filters. And that's all the editing I've done to it is turn it black and white. Little more contrast. The
I use
highlights I thought were
Snapseed.
pretty good.
I use
Pardon?
Snapseed on my iPhone to edit photos, and I find
Okay,
it
Kim.
it's really good,
All right.
and it's free.
That makes it better.
Great. Actually, Valentina, we just looked at your photo, but now that you're here, we'll go back to it. So you can tell us about it a little bit. So unmute yourself.
I'm so sorry. I'm late for this.
That's okay.
Something got in my way. Yeah, so this image I took just, I think last weekend we went to Asbury Park in New Jersey. And
So this is a current picture.
It is a current
Okay, because
picture,
the
yeah.
title had 2000 in it, so I didn't know if.
Oh, you know what? It's for me just because I cropped, right? That's what
Oh,
you.
okay, that's its size.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So, yeah. And I don't know. I just converted into black and white, but I played not directly to sepia or something, but somehow I achieved. I'm sorry. I achieved these colors, and I like it, but I like the critique on it.
So Jeff, you were mentioning the lamp fixture up in the very upper third, well, the very top of it, it was distracting to you.
Yeah, I'd either tone it down so it's no brighter than the other.
Up here.
Yeah, tone that down so that
I see. Okay.
because it's anytime you've got a bright spot near the border of an image, your eyes get pulled away. You can't help but look at it.
Got it. Yeah.
And then there was also a mention of the fact that now this is Zoom and I've got a big bright light in my face so that it's hard to see the richness of the shadow detail, but we were thinking that maybe there was the opportunity to bring up a little bit more detail in the roof or in the ceiling of the roof.
All right. Okay.
Not a lot, just enough to make it look rich.
Right. It's the place is really nice after the rain. This was on a sunny, bright day, but usually it's a nice place to, which I do want to go back when it's after the rains. I think some of the puddles come in and you can see even more reflections and stuff.
Yeah, someone else had commented on the symmetry too, that they like the.
That was me.
And
You
I
mean
like
the roof?
No, go ahead.
The symmetry of the lights vertically. That the bottom part is symmetrical but softer with the top part.
It's interesting that the left side is different than the right side. The number of panes, the details. That's really fascinating that it's symmetrical, but not.
Valentino, are they in the process of tearing this thing down?
I think they still keep it, you know.
Because look at all of the plywood and everything that's on those.
It's deteriorating, you know. Right. It's like you see even in concrete that patch, which I thought it's a little bit distracting, but it's part of it, you know. So they try to kind of preserve it, but yeah.
Well, thanks for sending that in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Let's see. We looked at that. Let's see. Who was this one from? David Robertson.
Yeah. This was taken in my studio in Davis, California, and just working with hard light, sort of film noir type of approach.
How do you feel it came out for yourself?
Me personally, I like how it came out. I like the shadow across her right eye and the detail down her throat.
Nice.
David, how many lights did you use?
2.
So there's one behind on the hair.
Can we assume this is digital? digital
Yes.
photograph?
Yeah.
So yeah, so film noir. That's you're not gonna be able to say it to too many people going forward. They're not gonna understand what it means. It's only the LASIK surgery crowd would get that.
I think it looks great, and I love the hand on the hat, and because hands are always difficult. The only thing I would change quite a bit is the hairy chin that she's got. I would tone that hair down quite a bit. Something I always look for is hair in profiles, but it's such a bright area under her chin that I would just tone that down. And the hair behind her, maybe tone down just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. The highlight, just to get the brightest spot being just her face and her chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the highlight on her nose and across the front of her face and coming down the chin, and then that highlight in her neck kind of flows, and what Jack was talking about, the hair under the chin, definitely distracts from that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something I often have to watch out for when I'm doing, the side views or profiles. I was looking for the beard. But good tone, you're holding the exposure. There's detail in those highlights. I can see the edge of the nose. It was handled very well.
And there's detail in the shadows too. So,
yeah, nice shot.
Well done.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Okay. See what comes up next on ours. Jeff. This one's from Jeff. This wrap sculptures. Is the wrapping on the sculpture or the wrapping the sculpture?
Yeah, so this is New York City, it's 7th Avenue, and I can't remember where there are several winged victories in this building cluster. And there's a whole story about the artist and everything, but I shot this probably in the late 80s. I was in New York for a photo expo. And so I just happened to shoot this and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. But then when I looked at the shot, it was like, yeah, but I thought it was an art installation, and a photograph of somebody's sculpture is not necessarily particularly artistic. And then I went by in a cab about a decade ago and saw the actual Winged Victory sculpture. No, is this Venus de Milo or Winged Victory? Venus de Milo, I guess. And that it was the full sculpture. So I figured the wrap sculpture, I could claim copyright on that myself without infringing on it's a copy of a famous sculpture. So fuck it if anybody doesn't like it. So
well, I had assumed that the wraps were Christo.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a thing, I suppose. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And Christo's not going to complain either.
Was the grain there, or did you add the grain? Was it just low light?
So, okay, I used to shoot back in the pre-digital days. I used to shoot with a Nikon with Tri-X processed in AccuFine I'll just say it the way I would have said it, ASA 1000, ISO 1000. So the grain is inherent in the nature of the original, but I've also then added a sense of grain on top of it just to fuck the image up a little bit.
So should I start another argument now? Is it ISO or ISO?
It's actually ISO.
Actually not. Actually, if you go to their website, they say it's ISO.
Well, ASA stood for American Standards Association.
Correct.
ISO stands for International Standards Organization.
Right, but for film ratings, they say it should be ISO, but I'll send you the reference on that later. We'll skip that one.
I was in a meeting once where someone was talking about Earls, and I was in a complete loss. I had no idea what he was talking about. And afterwards, I had to go over and ask him. He was talking about URLs. I had never heard anybody, and I was working for one of the largest websites in the world at the time.
Anyone else have comments on Jeff's photo here?
I love
I
it.
like actually the texture, right, of the wrap, and you see
Yeah.
the wrinkles and that, right?
I love how they loom, and I love that the wrapping isn't the same.
I think all the string or whatever it is they used to tie that down adds a lot.
Yeah, I'm into bondage too.
Really.
That's what this one's all about.
I'd be curious to see if they were delivered that way or if it was Christo who
No,
had
it
wrapped
was, I'm almost 100% positive that I just happened to be there the day that it was, or within shortly after they were actually delivered. So, I mean, this was, you know, just good timing on my part.
Timing
Serendipity.
is everything. Timing is everything.
Yep.
I was like the mystery of it is like, here's a normal building. What the hell are these statues doing wrapped in front of it?
Well, I think when I shot it, I did have a longer view, but it didn't have the same kind of graphic impact as the tight crop.
I like the back door.
Also, I actually like the square window at the bottom right because I feel like it gives it balance to the two figures.
I'm still perplexed about why would you want multiple copies of the same statue? If you're going to spring this much for statues.
I don't know, but I mean, there are two on this plaza, and then up 7th Avenue on the other side of the building, there are two. So I don't know why they had the two. You'd have to ask the architect of the building or the artist. And if you do a Google search, Venus de Milo on 7th Avenue, you'll find the artist information, which is what I did when I found out that it was like, oh, okay, so the wrap sculpture is not the art, it was incidental to the art.
Well, it worked for you.
Yep.
Can't complain.
Well, I can, but it's just, you know.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, Jim Dine.
Yeah, that
Shields.
this one is mine. And I don't know, should I talk about it or should I have people respond to it first?
Talk about it first. Go ahead.
Okay, so one of my things is concert photography, and rather than shoot shows with famous musicians on huge, well-lit stages, a lot of my photos are local musicians who are friends of mine who are performing in incredibly dark and difficult to photograph in situations. This one was shot at the Sorrento Hotel. It was a band that specialized in doing 40s jazz standards. And he's playing a flugelhorn. Some of the stats to give you an idea. Oh, okay, so before I get into that, my intent was I find static images boring. And so at every one of the shows that I shoot, I try to include at least some motion blur, usually in the hands. You know, in this case, his right hand on the valves. And for guitarists, the hand that's doing the strumming or things like that. And to give you an idea of what kind of light we're talking about, this was shot at ISO, see, I'm learning, ISO 12,800, 1/10 of a second at f4 handheld. So this is a testament to, number one, not being afraid to shoot at high ISO numbers. Number two, the magic of image stabilization. And three, not being afraid to shoot lots and lots of images, because I shoot bursts because there's lots of throwaways, where, there's just too much subject movement or too much camera movement for the image stabilization to overcome. So this was what I was imagining in my head, and out of, I don't know, it was like a dozen or 15 images that were shot in bursts. This was the one that I liked the best.
Well, image stabilization isn't going to do anything about subject movement.
No, but it does a lot for camera movement.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, take a look at that left hand. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, the magic of this is that the rest of the image is so sharp, even though it's shot at 1/10 of a second, which was enough to blur the fingers on the valves.
Great shot.
How much more of this image do you have?
Do you mean, is it cropped?
Yes.
Or do you mean, do I have a lot of other?
How much is cropped?
Very little is cropped. I cropped a little bit off the bottom because there was a little bit of specular highlight that I didn't like on the bell of the horn. But this is probably like 90% or so of the
So
image
do you
area.
have another shot like this showing the fact that it's a flugelhorn?
No, you just kind of have to know that. In fact, I think I found it out afterwards. He shoots several, he plays several different horns. And I think when I was showing him the photo, I said, "Oh yeah, I really like, we got the blur on the valves on your trumpet." He goes, "Well, that's not a trumpet, that's a flugelhorn." It's like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
What bothers me about this is the fact that, for me, the main subject are the hands and the valves.
Yes.
But then going to the background, I'm seeing this guy blowing air into the trumpet itself. I would have rather seen more of the foreground than the background, because or just a very slight tip of that horn, as opposed to the guy's mouth, nose, and the sunglasses.
I do have other images from this shoot where it's pulled back more and you can see everything, including his hat, the entire horn and all that. And he and the bass player I was teasing both kind of looked like the Blues Brothers, which I said was kind of anachronistic for a 40s jazz band, but they looked kind of cool. But exactly what you're saying is true in those other images where you can see more of the foreground, you can see the entire horn, and you can see more of the sunglasses and the hat.
All you need is like the very, very. You don't need the whole bell of the horn. You just need a little bit of it at the bottom, and get rid of where he's blowing into the mouthpiece. The hands are great.
That'd be weird, Mike. If you don't see it, if you don't see his
Yeah.
face, it would be weird.
I'm sorry.
I like seeing the face just the way it is. I'll tell you the one thing I do like. I love the way that the shirt cuff comes around and then mimics the opposite of the top of the flugelhorn.
What's the subject matter in this picture?
The action of playing
music.
No, you don't see music. You hear music. But the main subject matter of this image are his fingers and the valves.
Yes, to me, that's what I was concentrating on. And I did want to get enough of his face into it so that it wasn't just I could have seen a super tight crop just on the fingers and the valves, but that really, I shot this with a 70-200 and he's like, 2 feet in front of me. He saw me sitting there with the camera and he came right up. I mean, he's like playing right into my face when I did this. So I couldn't have gotten any tighter. And I probably couldn't have zoomed out enough to get much more than this. The other images were when he stepped further away from me. I'm sitting in a chair shooting this. But yeah, to me, the subject is the motion.
I think it looks great the way it is. And I sort of knew it was a flugelhorn when I saw the flare below his fingers of the horn, because a trumpet would have been smaller and straighter. So I had a feeling between the loop in the back and the way it flares on what you're showing, it's definitely not a trumpet. I thought it was a flugelhorn, but I love the fact that you've cut into sunglasses like that. It just looks like a great jazz shot.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I think so too.
As a kid who had to take trumpet in school, I love that there's all the action in the fingers and the valves, because that's where all the action is. But you included the intensity in its mouth, and that adds to the tension of the moment for me, of the drama of the performance. So I think I like this crop. I regret having to disagree with Michael, but I think this is a very good crop on the subject.
Somebody's howling in the background. Everyone's a critic. Somebody howling.
That was the flugelhorn. That was the flugelhorn.
He plays better than that.
That's my neighbor's dog.
So you could just about hear this horn actually blow.
Let's see what comes up next. Doug, are you here?
I am.
There you go. Yeah, Doug's been posting these great black and whites on his Facebook page the past few days.
So it's summertime and it's fair time up here in Maine. And the little country fairs are great. The rides are, I mean, they look like they're out of another age. They probably are. And I also really like the non-food booths that are selling all this outrageous stuff.
Well, you should come down to Dallas in another week to the Texas State Fair. They have a couple of large buildings of people selling outrageous stuff.
I really like that. A while ago, I was in New Mexico, and I went to the New Mexico Fair in Albuquerque, and they had like fried alligator, and I mean, just stuff you wouldn't even imagine.
Oh, here they have fried butter. They have fried beer.
I keep saying there's always a booth that's will fry anything.
I don't know how they do it.
Tell us more about the lens shot. Is it a wide angle? What's the setup?
Probably, it's not wide angle. It's probably 70 or 100. Something like that.
I'll tell you, the subject matter just puts a smile on your face when you see it.
I've never seen a ride like that before. It's just amazing.
The bees.
I love that you can see the center of the ride that looks like a beehive.
Right.
The composition is perfect.
Yeah, I've never seen a bee with arms and legs. I wasn't quite sure what it was till I looked into the background and saw the beehive, and I figured, oh, it must be one of the bees.
Well, it's got gloves and boots too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like that you got all the reflections off the surface.
This is just like any other cartoon that you've ever seen, where instead of having hands, they all wear white gloves. You ever notice that Bugs Bunny has white gloves?
Right.
Daffy Duck has white, Mickey Mouse, and this guy's got black gloves.
You have any filtration on this lens? Like a yellow filter?
The sky is black. It's got to be some kind of filter.
Yeah.
Do you remember what color the bee body was in the head?
I think the head was black and the gray part of the body was yellow.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Did you get any portrait shots of just the face?
No, I didn't. I regret that. Yeah, the face looks like one of those 40s or 50s cartoons.
So just a quick question, are you locked into your crop?
No.
Okay. Well, okay, so one of the things that
photo
bothers me is whatever the hell that thing is in the upper left-hand corner. Yeah,
Flag.
I don't know
Flag.
what that is, but it does not help the image. It kind of distracts. And the thing I was going to say is that if you were to crop in from the sides a bit, you could maybe get rid of the power pole. You're not going to get rid of the wires, but it's just something to contemplate. I don't know if you've looked at it. There are some people that are, shall we say, purists regarding the crop in camera, that they don't like to go after the fact and change the proportion, the ratio, but I'm of the mind that the image dictates the crop, not some arbitrary format that you happen to shoot it with.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't want to crop it enough to get the telephone pole out of there, because seeing the bumblebee there on the left, I think helps. But I'll definitely get rid of the flag.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as I said, if you get a chance, look at, is your Facebook public? Can people go in and
Yes,
look at all
it
your
is.
photos? There's a lot of great black and whites in there. And here's Joe's.
This is out of my my files, and forget what day we sent it, but we're coming up on 9/11, and you can see the World Trade Center in the background. I'm still pissed off about that. So I had towers on my mind when I sent this in.
Mm-hmm.
It's still the MetLife building.
Was this on your way down?
On my way down, yeah, I was on my way down. I came to a soft landing, Mike. It was
What's
incredible.
it, a 16 millimeter fisheye?
Yeah, 15.
Oh, well, I'm older. I'm older than you.
It's a Canon. It's a forget what it is. I've got one in. I've got it in my bag.
Oh, I was thinking the Nikon.
Canon has the 15 millimeter full frame.
Canon had Nikon had this 16 millimeter fisheye.
Yeah, this is a 15. Yeah, 15. I love that lens. I like trying to convey that Manhattan was the center of the world. You know, pardon me for being parochial about it, being a New Yorker, but pretty much that's the intention, and that's why I like that curvature effect. You know, I've seen the curve of the earth.
Yeah, I like that courage too, right?
You
I
can
like
almost
the two rivers come in. You know, it's just.
You can almost tell when the image was taken, because the Pan Am building has now turned into the MetLife building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's MetLife in this image, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I had my way, I'd still say Pan Am on it, but you know, I don't have my way. So. Here, in Chicago, I still call whatever they call it now. I still call it the Sears Tower. That's the way I relate to it. It's the Sears Tower.
Sure.
That thing says MetLife on it. It's still the Pan Am building.
That's right.
You know.
And Lakeshore Drive is LSD, not DeSalvo, whatever it is.
But in New York,
Exactly.
6th Avenue is still 6th Avenue, no matter what
Sixth
the
Avenue,
street signs
yeah,
say.
it's still 6th Avenue.
Oh,
That's right.
but there's the Triborough Bridge. It's still the Triborough Bridge to everybody, not the RFK Bridge.
I
Right.
didn't even realize they renamed it.
Oh yeah, quite a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm right now sitting about 3 miles from the Tappan Zee Bridge. What used to be the Tappan Zee Bridge. They tore it down. They put up this other thing. They call it the Marion Cornwall Bridge. But all the road signs still say Tappan Zee Bridge. So you're coming in that direction. you can get confused.
Nice shot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jack.
Oh, I love these.
Oh, I love this.
Jack, you've done a whole series of these now. I love these.
Yeah, well, this
The
is
drunken
like
lens.
the first one. This is from 2015. This is in Tel Aviv, just outside of Tel Aviv.
Are you using iPhones for these?
Yeah, this is straight out of the cell phone camera. This is just except for tonal adjustment, and some contrast. This is right out of the camera. So
what a great idea!
Real easy to do, and this is from an iPhone 6. This is a much older one.
Just flipping it back and forth as you pan?
No, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So
yeah, you just don't go levelly across. You just change it. Now this is cropped in a bit, because it's you covered quite a bit.
So I'll warn you, Jack, the little elves at Apple have made this much more difficult to do.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I've done it with my 12, and
Yeah.
it's not quite as like this. It's much better on the 6.
Because I was doing the warp panos actually in Sequoia National Forest. I was trying to warp a tree going up, and the fucking camera kept kind of like fixing the image.
I tried this on Sunday. I'd seen your stuff on Facebook, and I tried this on Sunday, and it didn't work with my camera. With my iPhone.
Which
So
phone?
wait, it's just a regular panel? That's what are you talking
I'm
about?
using an SE, but it's the software. It's software is what screws us up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's trying to fix it for you.
Yeah.
But I like
But my
somebody said,
spelling. It tries to fix my spelling too. It pisses me off.
Now somebody said, "Is this a Gary building?" But it's
I mean,
it's
it
quite a
actually
surprise.
could be. I'm sure there's
So
a
this-
buildings like this somewhere.
Well, it's hard to get the floors to be at that angle and get them straight. I guess the outside of the building could be
Right.
But just
Pretty interesting.
a fun shot. I just ran across it again. That's why I've been posting it. And that's, I guess, another reason to go through your old stuff. I saw this again, forgot all about it. And then when I took that walk on the East River the other day, I started doing it again. So always good to go back into your files.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Let's see what comes up next.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And who is this from?
Hi, John.
Hey there.
It's Marta.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of tech problems today.
Huh.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So what do you want to tell us about this?
This is called Entropy, and I shoot macro. It actually is a series I started due to not being able to photograph as I wanted to, and I end up creating my own little mini scenes and set it up in my apartment. And everything here, the pedals, I'm not able to show you right now. I had to find somebody else's computer to use. So, but everything's very, very tiny. They're dead elements, flowers, botanical elements, and I created my own scenes and everything. This is shot on a very, very old camera body and with a 65mm macro. The pedals are probably about eighth inch, less than ½ inch long. And
Wow.
Entropy means disorder, a gradual disorder into chaos.
Right. They
And
say
what
entropy isn't what it used to be.
And
What's the circular thing on the left-hand side?
it's bubbles. It's ice and water.
Even
And
this one here?
Yeah, this big thing.
Yeah, that's an ice bubble. Just got lucky with certain things and tried different things. And I'll give you some just background. It's very odd to tell a group of strangers, but I will, because our lives inform our artwork. Some years ago, my eyes were injured, and I stopped doing artwork or photos for a few years. And I'm fortunate my visual acuity is still 20/20, and my color perception is 100%. However, I had to come up with a new way to shoot photos. And in my apartment, I set up my own little mini scenes. And I still do that today. I create what I can due to my situation with my eyes, and my medical situations inform my artworks. And in addition to being about chaos, using botanical works, pieces that are at the end of their life cycle, and trying to revive them and give new beauty, and to show the fragility, the grace, the strength, and about ephemerality and the impermanence of life. Dealing with medical situations informs my artworks a lot. And so I like to say this is more than just a botanical or floral photo. I have a series of these. It's from a series called Beyond. And so just thought I'd take a chance and put it into this wonderful, amazing group of photographers here, and see what you thought. It's an older photo. I do a lot of different types of things, but it's still something I go back to. It was in a couple of actual real gallery art shows. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for the comments.
When I first saw this, I thought it was stuff that you put in soup and the water is boiling. I mean, it's really very nice.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
And I thought that maybe you shot it through like a Pyrex glass, in a Pyrex pot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, it is glass, because I had to put the ice into something. And what I use is just what I have in my apartment. I don't have any special lights. I just use a little tiny 4-inch flashlight, and I play with aiming my flashlights. And, I guess what I'd be interested from this group of experts is any advice on focus rail, a horizontal axis to do anything, just the technical aspects, and also what you think about a 100mm lens versus this old Canon 65. And my camera body is so old, one of the T models. But yeah, just interested to hear what people think when you hear the story behind it versus just the flower. But thank you, Michael. Yeah, a pot of
what manufacturer camera is this old thing you use?
This is an old Canon T3 is what I've got.
So what you should do is get a hold of a lens reversing ring.
Mm-hmm.
Lens reversing ring, so that you're able to take the front of the lens and make it the back of the lens. All right, that goes into the camera. And the back element of every lens is flat. Got it? And so you won't have this fall off on the edges, and you're also able to get closer if you want to your subjects. And if you don't want to get that close, then you can just use the same technique for a normal or a slightly telephoto lens and do the same thing. But I'm curious to find out how you did the bubbles.
The bubbles are frozen ice. I took glass, and it's a flat square, and I froze things, and I played with different angles as I did the water, freezing it. And I have played with every type of water, from distilled to boiled to tap, and I haven't been able to reproduce exactly. I've done other types of things like this, but just what I've learned just about things with the way the oxygen and the chemistry and the size of your freezer. I have a small freezer, very tiny. All those things play into the way the ice bubbles freeze and the streaks and things that will happen.
So, are you familiar with a lady by the name of Karen Pasilis?
No, I don't know that name, Jeff.
Okay. She was a guest with John Cornicello, and she's done a whole series. In fact, she's working on an all new series of basically frozen flowers. And there's a lot of different ways of approaching it. But if do a Google search, it's spelled Keron. And then her last name is Psilles.
LLAS.
LLES.
Can you put it in the chat?
I could look that up.
I'll put it in the chat.
And I just want to say hallelujah. The hum just stopped here. I'm not going crazy anymore. I don't have this.
All right.
My room stopped shaking.
Well, that doesn't mean you're not still going crazy.
Right. Right.
Thinking about sedating your eyes does corrects the hearing. Now, I just want to say, that's a wonderful image, and I'm blown away. But I'm sitting here looking at my iPad. If I unfocus my eyes just a little bit, it looks like one of those space telescope pictures. I think it's fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Joseph, and thank you, Jeff, for that link. Yeah, I work primarily in macro, and I'm fascinated by what you can see through the lens that we can't see just with our eyes. And as I said, my work relates to the body and impermanence and changes, and that's why I like using botanical materials. I have a lot of dead flowers. These don't looked at, and I have to say this is all done in camera. Nothing was done in the computer. I don't know on your monitors. It's coming out more purple, the background right now. It's actually more of a kind of ultramarine blue is what I used behind the glass.
Yeah, that might be the computer you're on.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not on my computer. I had to run.
Where are you located?
I'm in Southern California in LA.
Okay.
I'm going to give you another suggestion.
Sure.
If you go to a pet fish store, tropical fish, they have small tanks, all right, that are probably about 3 inches wide. All right.
Yeah.
And so you can, because you're doing this in a bowl, right?
It's actually it is a square vase, a clear square vase. But that's something, Michael. That's something I've thought of too. Is at some point if I go bigger, getting a fish tank. I know there are photographers who use that. But yeah, thank you, Michael, for saying that. But this is actually flat. It's a square. And as I'm sure all of you know, that the challenge with macro, the different planes, if it's not flat, because I do shoot botanical elements and try to do refractions, and some of them are not on the same plane and they're blurred and other parts are sharp. But yeah, Michael, thank you for reminding me about fish tanks.
Is that a glass vase or a crystal vase?
It's glass. It's just one of these deep vases, little like 4x4 vases that I had. Everything here is very, very tiny. These petals, as I said, just really maybe ½ inch. And I play with. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, this looks really nice, but you might try using crystal instead of glass because it transfers the light differently.
And you say you have not used a macro focusing rail?
No, I don't have one.
Send me your address in an email. I have 2. I'll send you one.
I'll pay you for it. I have a really old. I have 2 tripods, old ones, but yeah, I'll send that. Thank you, John, and thank you, Joseph, for the suggestion about Crystal and Michael and everybody who's written in the chat. Thank you. I was very nervous to send anything here because in the talks that I've seen and when some of you have shared your work, it's all amazing. So
This is
sorry,
great.
due to the technical issues, I'm commenting in the chat today, but yeah, and any suggestions, I'm always open to, and thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, a couple of things that I've done and a couple of things that Karen has done is that I presume what you're doing is freezing the flowers all at once. One of the things that she does is work in a tray, and she'll build up layers of frozen. In other words, she'll start with some, and she's using distilled water. She'll start with a certain level of water and position the flowers, freeze it, take it out, add some more water,
right,
and flowers, and freeze it. So she builds it up from the bottom up. And
yeah,
that was something that she said that it was like, well, boy, that makes a lot of sense. The time that I've done frozen flowers, I did a whole bunch of flowers in a trash can filled with distilled water and stuck it in the deep freeze. And I ended up getting interesting things, but it was very difficult to control. So layering it in a tray seemed to be a brilliant idea.
Cool.
yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I have. After this one, I did experiment with doing that and positioning like the same square, angling it so it freezes at angles. You know, as all of you know, with photos, sometimes you shoot a whole bunch and you're lucky you come out with one, and I do have others in this series. But yeah, that's good. Thank you for reminding me about that, Jeff, and for the referral.
Great.
Marta, do you have a flatbed scanner of any kind?
I'm actually thinking of getting the Epson V Perfection, the lower end one, the 600,
Right.
V600.
I've seen people who've used those scanners to photograph flowers using the scanner as a camera. And if you're freezing these, it might be something to try just to see what happens. I have no idea if it would work or not on something like this, but just something else to think of other than that. And Michael's suggestions of a reversal ring for lenses has been used quite a bit for macro, and it is a great suggestion. I use a 100 millimeter macro for duping slides and things like that. With that, if you got a lens like that, also it'll give you more distance between you and the subject. If you want to put something in between. On a I'm not familiar with that camera as much.
So she's getting the distance. It's similar to using the 100 on the full frame.
Oh, so then there's then if you go to 100, you're going to run into problems with depth of field. So you're better with the shorter lens.
I was going to make a comment about a depth of field thing. If you're willing to consider a different camera body, like one of the newer camera bodies from Canon that has built-in focus stacking features, one of the things that you could experiment with is how much additional depth of field or where you want the sharpness based on compositing a number of images that are focused different depths into the image. I haven't done it personally, but I've seen some amazing work done by others and especially because you said that these are static subjects. In other words, that even though it looks like it might be, effervescent water, it's actually bubbles frozen in ice. I think that would be conducive to being able to take a series of focus stacked images to experiment with where you want the depth of, where you want the sharpness to be and where you want things to be out of focus, and not being limited to the kind of depth of field that you have with a macro lens with a single exposure.
Oh, thank you, John, for that. Yes, it's I've got my wish list of upgrading to new camera bodies someday. And yeah, hope to be able to do that. But thank you for explaining about that. And yeah, I know. I think John, that you had mentioned there was a Canon. I don't remember the name of it, but I think they were $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000 or $6,000. I'm not sure. It was one of the
Yeah, I'm
newer
not sure.
mirrorless ones.
Yeah,
The
Only
mirrorless
money.
ones? Yeah,
let's take
only money.
Martha, let's take this offline. You and I can talk about this with you, but let's move on
Uh,
here because we're running out of
thank you,
time and have
everybody.
a few more to go. But thank you. This is a great one.
It was wonderful.
Thank
right?
you, everybody.
This is one of mine. We can skip over it if you want, or if anyone wants to make
It's beautiful,
this.
John. I just want to say before I get off, it's beautiful.
Thanks.
It's beautiful, and thank goodness it's not the same damn birds that Kevin Raver used. I'm sick and tired of his fucking birds, but these birds work.
Thanks. This
It's
is a
very-
friend of mine.
Keywords, John, for here.
It's very painterly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna just go on to Michael Mueller here.
Also painterly.
So Michael, do you work with a mouse or with a tablet?
Work with a mouse or a what?
Tablet, or a pen and tablet, like a Wacom tablet.
Nope. Work with a mouse. So here's the quick story of this image. I was in the hospital for special surgery to have my total hip replacement. I was done 3 days before New Year's Eve. It's coming up to 3 years ago. And since the hospital was basically empty, they gave me a room that was just absolutely incredible. You're actually
NYU?
looking, huh?
You're in NYU?
No, Hospital for Special Surgery.
Where is that? So that's the FDR Drive there, right? On the left.
This is the East River, and this is the FDR Drive, is right.
Yeah.
And then you're looking over into Queens, and way back in the background is the bridge. And so I saw this tugboat coming down the river, and remember I had total hip replacement, so it's difficult to move. So I asked my son to give me the goddamn iPhone and to follow, but I couldn't get out of bed. So I told him, put the iPhone directly up against the window, the inside of the window, and I'll tell you when to take the shots. And he took several, pushing the button, and then I said, you know what? Turn the camera horizontally, take some more, and so I have a whole series of these things. And that was 3 years
Was
ago.
he working for you as a work for hire arrangement?
Yeah, I gave him a Canon contract to sign, and it says in perpetuity. So
throughout the universe.
He was still paying off that college loan to you.
No. I paid for that college loan, and so did some of the Explorers of Light helped me also.
So let's go back to the photo here.
And so now I have this thing in an iPhone. I know zero about an iPhone, and I had to call him up, and because he's married, and I said I want to get the file off the iPhone and be able to put it into my my computer and work on it in Photoshop. And so I did, and the picture that came out of that was the East River was flat, and it was cold outside, and there were still little chunks of ice floating down the river. And so I said, you know what, this looks like a typical kind of bullshit shot. I'm very into Impressionism, and so I started playing around with this, and more playing around with this, and essentially I have about a week's worth of work in this particular image itself. And I don't know if you can blow this thing up on your side, John, but if you blow it up and take a look at the water.
That's about as far as it goes, I think.
Or any of these buildings over in Queens. I added some oil paint also, and we can see the actual the brush strokes as well.
Yeah,
So-
let's see if I go out of here and
Well, I don't know if you can actually see it because I think I sent it to you as a
yeah, it's probably too low res.
yeah, low res. But it's just, well, you can see it in the sky, in the dark areas of the sky. See the brush strokes,
Hmm.
but I like it.
Very well done. Thank you.
It's peaceful.
Anyone else?
I love the colors. It just paints
Thank you.
a really
The
I didn't
vibrant-
change. I didn't. That was actually the color that drew me to looking at this. Look at taking a chance on a shot, and look at the sky in the middle of where there's a break in the clouds, right in there. Yeah, I mean it's got that goes from a deep purple all the way down to this this aqua.
Hi,
Okay.
Michael.
Yes.
Hi, Michael. This is Marta.
Hi, Martha.
Feinstein. Hi. Hi again. Yeah, this is beautiful. I just put it in the chat, and you talk. I remember other meetings. I think you've talked about that you like impressionism and turning your photos into painterly scenes. So this is beautiful. And what also affects me. I know you've shared about your medical, and you shared this is from the hospital window. And I also bring my phone with me at medical appointments, and just I find that being able to be creative is a way to distance ourselves from maybe something medical that we're going through, and that's my personal thing. And obviously you have done that too from your hospital room, and so I relate to it on that level. But just as an artwork, it's beautiful, and the colors you were describing the sky. I love those shades of blue. It's just
Thank you.
yeah, it's beautiful. So and yeah, really it really grabs you, really engages the viewer right away.
Thank you. I mean, not only with the hip, but I've had, everybody knows, 23 years worth of battling cancer.
Yeah. Let's see.
Our
who we
thoughts
got.
are with you, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yes, I remember this well.
Who is this from?
This is mine, Stephen.
Stephen. Let me just jump ahead one for a second. Okay, the next one's yours too. Good.
Yeah.
We're almost at the end. I know Jeff. has to
Very
leave in a few
different.
minutes.
Don't tell us it's the Italian countryside. We're not going to believe you.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Don't tell us it's the Italian countryside.
Okay, I won't tell you what it is.
Jeff's got to leave us. We'll see you next time, Jeff.
Now, don't talk about me when I leave.
We're going to talk about you when you leave.
I know. That's why I said it. All right, see ya.
Be
Bye,
well.
Jeff.
Take care.
See you, Jeff.
I gotta run too. So as
Thank
usual,
you.
this is
We're gonna
great,
talk about
John.
Jeff.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye bye,
Now we're
guys.
now we're going to talk about you.
Yeah, talk
Jack.
about me all you want. Love it. Bye bye.
Obviously, people dislike this picture so much they don't even want to comment and they leave.
No, I like this a lot, actually. It's
It's
very
just that we all wanted to go to
another
Italy with
painterly.
you.
I didn't realize I threw three painterly images in a row. Wasn't intentional, but no, this is nice. I love the clouds. And how do you do your brush strokes here? You are, again, I'll ask same as I did Michael.
I don't. This is just Topaz Impression.
The original impression or impression 2, they're a little bit
Impression.
different.
Well, although I have both, it's Impression 2. It's just easier to bring up.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of crunchy clouds, so I always make sure there's lots of detail in clouds, and I kind of like the way the clouds ended up here.
Hi,
I'll ask you
Stephen.
the
It's
same.
Marta. That's why
Yeah,
I was just
Marta.
going to say that those clouds. That's just it's such a peaceful scene, but those clouds, the the way the lines, the movement carries your eye across. I mean, the whole scene, you know, across the landscape, you know, to right to left and then back again. But yeah, those clouds, they really grab you. Really amazing.
One of the things you'll see in any of my landscape photos, whether they're painterly like this or very realistic, is there'll always be a lot of texture in the clouds. I get really frustrated with blown out clouds.
Where was this taken?
One of those towns that I can't pronounce in Tuscany. We went up there. It was a small town. We had lunch there. We were sitting on the patio. After lunch, I just stood up and walked up to the rail and took the shot. It was just a beautiful landscape.
It is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And the clouds were great. I mean, as I said, I'm always aware of what's happening with clouds.
What type of clouds were they? What type of clouds were they?
Now you're asking something I have no idea about.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm teasing because I don't know either. They're just beautiful.
Yeah. And actually, the original shot was more square, but the rest of it was all clouds. And I decided that I had too much in the way of clouds.
Too much of a good thing, huh?
Right. So I cut them back a lot.
They look like cumulus clouds.
I'll take your word for it. Actually, the guy that I was with is a pilot, and he keeps commenting on what types of clouds are up there, and I just ignore it. Oh, it was Bob Kiss. Some of you know Bob.
Yeah, we know Bob. Cool. I'm going to go on to your next one here, which is very different. This is also from Stephen.
This is my argument to people who say, oh, you have to print exactly what comes out of camera. And my attitude always is, I print what I saw when I took the photo. It may not be what the camera saw, but it's what I saw. And my only frustration here is that I hadn't realized it, but I turned the image stabilization switch off. So this is not as sharp as I would have liked it to have been. But the two big changes I made on this, because it's basically as I exposed it, except for two things. One is their pants being black were all in the shadows. And if you just printed it straight out of camera, it's just a big black mess. And then I lightened up and fuzzed up the background a bit because there's a lot going on here. But when I took the picture, I just saw the couple. I just thought this public display of affection was just so great, and it couldn't be separated from it except by separating it later in post-processing.
Do you know if they were locals or tourists?
Oh, I'm sure they were locals.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Stephen, Marta. The first thing that grabbed me in this shot, I go right to their faces, and even though you can only see half of their faces, you can see the expressions and the joy in that, and the love. And that's, I mean, that's just an interesting pose. And I'm, also I'm looking at her platform shoes too. But the first thing, thank you, John, for zooming that. The first thing I went to were their faces. And it's really interesting how even with just showing so little of their face, just the his left, her right, that joy. And then your eye moves down, and the way she's grabbing him on the neck, and he's got her around the waist, and she's just totally thrown herself into them. But that's the thing for me that really stood out is just that feeling, like you say, of joy, that moment, and that you captured that. And
I was just walking from one museum to another museum, and I saw them on the street, and it was one shot, and I cropped off on the left and top a little bit, but this is probably 85% of the frame.
Steve, it's great.
Steve, how did you, the people in the background seem to be faded out a little bit. I assume that was done on the computer?
It was done in Lightroom. I masked them out. Well, actually, what I've been doing a lot lately is I'll mask out the main subject or the sky, and then I'll do a copy that's the inverse. And so I took the people in the back, and I I took, oh, what's the slider? It's usually used for sharpening, but I pushed it the other way.
Oh,
And
is
then
it the clarity slider or the
yes, the clarity,
saturation? Because
the
it looks like
clarity.
a little of both.
Yeah, the clarity got moved down and the contrast got moved down, and then I increased the exposure a little bit to make them a little softer. And then at the bottom near the feet, I just put some I took some of the masking out so that it didn't look like she was standing on something other than real rock, real concrete. But again, this is just all in Lightroom. I never
Right.
went to Photoshop with this.
Right. It's nice.
I submitted the two because they're so very, very different. And my one failing is that I don't have a style. I like everything.
Cool.
I love the
think-
connection between the couple that you've highlighted. It's just works perfectly.
Yeah, a few people
you.
send in more than one, so I think from here out there's a couple of more from other people, but we've hit one of everyone that sent things, I think, so far. So let's see. Oh, that's another one of mine. I have bendy friends. Everyone asks me how much I did in Photoshop on this, and there's no Photoshop at all.
That's the way. Oh, yeah, right. That's her legs.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's amazing what you can do
photoshopped
when you're
herself.
17.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Jordan McKnight. She originally from New Jersey. She's in Vegas now doing, I don't know if she was Cirque du Soleil or one of those groups now. But anyway.
John, do you have, this is Marta, do you
Yeah.
have a series called Bendy Friends?
I should. I've got it. I've photographed about a dozen contortionists over the past few years. I'll put
Yeah,
them
the
all
way-
together.
The way it's really interesting because the first thing we were asking if it's Photoshop, because right away I had to think about the legs, but the way you have her legs framing her face and the eyes drawn, that V shape, triangle shape, it really draws you in. But yeah, that's wild photo and just your setting is really great.
Thanks. Thank you.
Wow.
So let's see, this is, are you still here? Or was it, Tim must have left. He was in his car or in the truck before, but he had to send in a couple of photos. So here's another one. And let's see.
On
Another
that one with the bank and clouds, I feel like this bank is about to go bust or something. It feels like the storm is about to hit what appears to be a very calm bank. Otherwise,
I want to know about the character in front holding the pole or holding onto the pole, or I don't know if it can blow it up any. Whoops.
The bazooka.
Anyway, nice tones, another good clouds.
Mhm.
And here was his other one, the dog looking back into the window. Again, these are from New Orleans. And
I love that
another
picture.
from another from Joe.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had towers on my mind last week.
Yeah.
So these were both shot from the same place. The bottom one is the scene as it appeared before towers were destroyed, and the second one is the night of September 11th. So you see, instead of the World Trade Center and the buildings lit, all the power lower Manhattan was gone. Statue of Liberty not being on that grid was lit up, but the debris cloud from the collapse was lit by they put out these giant work lights so they could see what they were doing. They were digging through that pile 24 hours a day for months. This was the beginning.
Yeah.
It's been 21 years. I'm still pissed off.
Aren't we all?
We all are.
When I got out there that night, And when I arrived for the second one, there was another photographer that I knew was there as well. And the two of us just sat there after we finished shooting, just commiserating. It was a tough day.
Mhm.
That's my hometown, so.
That's a powerful set of images, though.
I know a lot of people who were supposed to be in either of those buildings on that day and were not.
Mhm.
They're the lucky ones.
My then husband generally went into work using the train and the ferry, and he walked under the World Trade Center to get to his office.
Yeah,
And-
my wife was going through the World Trade Center that day.
Yeah. Fortunately, my husband had a dentist appointment that morning and was driving into work late and saw the second plane hit.
Mm.
Thank God he could turn around and come home.
I had a client that had offices in one of the towers, a company called Cantor Fitzgerald. They employed 600 people in that location. One guy didn't go to work that day. He was the CEO. He had to take his children to school, and everybody in his company died, including some people that I knew, the corporate communications manager and the art director were friends of mine. They're all gone.
Including a commuting buddy of my husband at the time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the last image here. So, Jeff had to send in one more, but let me stop the share. Well, thank you all for joining us today.
This is great as usual.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these
it's
are going
always fun
pretty
to
well.
do
So maybe
this.
every few weeks we'll do one of these.
Mhm.
Hey, David, sorry you got in here late. You're muted. But I hear you got a show coming up.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
it's-
Sorry, I was just preparing. I had to hang up a whole lot of pictures on the wall here in a gallery for a new show that's starting day after tomorrow. Listen, I'm in Germany and I think you're all in the US. If any of you are in Germany, then please come.
One of these days.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank
I
you.
really
Thanks
enjoyed
everyone that sent in
everything.
photos. This is
Yeah,
great.
thanks, John.
I'm gonna stop the recording.